Hello again. Welcome to WordPress Accessibility Day. My name is Danielle, and I'm the founder of Overnight Website and Kinetic Iris Web Development Studio. Thank you for joining us. We have our session now, Inclusive Coding and Design, with Andrija Radojev and Lazar Bulatovic. I apologize immensely. Andrija is the founder of the video game studio Thunderstrike and has been involved in WordPress development for 6 years. Apart from his main specialty of WooCommerce development, he is also specialized in website optimization and website accessibility technology development and implementation. And then we have Lazar. He helps entrepreneurs get confident as presenters and sell more using the power of public speaking. He is also a well-versed user of screen reader software and other assistive technology products for the blind due to the experience of more than 15 years and provides accessibility testing services. Please feel free to add your questions in the Q&A tab next to the video, and we will answer them at the end of the session and use the Ideas tab to chat with the other attendees. And with that, let's take it away.
Checkings. Can you see me well?
Can you adjust your camera just so you can we can't see your face?
Let me know. Shall I put it up?
Yeah, put it up. Perfect.
Okay. So, what is your favorite food? Whether you are at your house, office, or home, please say it loudly in 3, 2, 1, now. Good. Now, imagine you are very hungry because you haven't eaten for 3 days, no matter why. You walk around, you find a shop selling the favorite food you just mentioned. Fragrance is nice, price is good, and it looks delicious. Yummy. But the payment place is set too high. Desk is set too high. So you cannot pay it, and you can't have it. How would you feel? Think for a while. Frustrated, furious, sad. Although I can't know your reaction at the moment, this is what many people with disabilities get through. Some little and simple tasks becomes a nightmare, just because developers and designers don't have accessibility in mind. Dear friends, today there are many definitions of accessibility, but I'm not going to share any of them. You can Google it. Today, I want to tell you what are some basics of screen readers. You will learn that. You will also feel how do people with disabilities, especially screen reader users, actually experience the accessibility in everyday lives. And hopefully you will start incorporating your accessibility standards into your projects. Okay, so coming to that, let's start with something very important. Accessibility should be crucial for everyone. And yeah, truth be told, not so many developers care about accessibility. And it's not because they are bad persons per se, no. Although sometimes your services are damn expensive. No, it's because the lack of education. And the lack of education causing lack of accessibility. And this is my personal definition of accessibility in this context. So, accessible product or website means that all of its features are available to all persons regardless of their disabilities, without any support except the assistive technology devices they are using in everyday lives, such as screen reader or magnifier. Now, you, developers and designers, have a huge power. You have a power to change the lives of hundreds of thousands of people with disabilities, to help them find a new job, help them buy things, have fun, and overall lead a more prosperous life. Okay, I guess most of you understand that, and probably all of you, because if this is not the case, you wouldn't be here now. You do understand that all websites should be accessible to all people, regardless on disability. But just for today's purpose, we are going to cover the web accessibility for screen reader users. And most of them are blind or visually impaired. I also assume that most of you understand how does the screen reader work and how do blind people use computer. But let's do a quick overview for those who are listening to this for the first time. So let's see what screen reader is not. Screen reader is not an interface, a different interface. Screen reader is not an operating system, that's obvious. And screen reader is not our accessibility advocate. We are. Screen reader is actually a speech software that converts text into speech. Now, there are various screen readers for different operating systems. For example, on Windows, the most popular ones are JAWS and NVDA. For Android, we have commentary and talkback. For iOS, there is a voiceover, and so on and so forth. However, to enjoy all blessings of a screen reader, of what screen reader has to offer, its users must understand and must remember many keyboard shortcuts that are not related, that are associated with screen reader only. For example, if your screen reader is turned on and you press Insert plus F7, you will most likely bring the list of links on that web page. On the other hand, if your screen reader is turned off and you press the same keystroke on the same web page, chances are you'll get nothing. Now, here is what many people don't know, but screen reader, the development of screen reader has a long history. Its history longer than 30 years. This is very complex software that updates regularly. So consider screen reader as something very sophisticated rather than a program that speaks randomly. Okay. And along with, although screen reader definitely has many features, we can't do everything without support of developers and designers. And this is why your role is key here. You have a crucial role here. In my opinion, there are 3 reasons for which you should start implementing accessibility standards into your future projects. First, money talks. I won't go for details for statistics today, but it's proven that accessible web stores and websites actually generate much more profit in comparison with their counterparts that are not accessible. Second, better visibility. If your website has perfectly set elements such as headings, buttons, checkboxes, etc., the visibility will increase and more people will know about the website. This is something that SEO experts can tell you more about it. Third, recommendations. If people with disabilities see that your website is good and they have a great user experience, they will recommend the website to their friends and family. Okay. Now, but how does the inaccessible websites actually affect daily lives of the screen reader users? We will cover this in a moment. But until we reach that, please understand that just because something looks accessible to you does not mean it is accessible to screen reader users. And this is why there is a huge difference between automated testing and manual testing. Andrija will cover this shortly. So everything should get tested manually, ideally by the users themselves. And one more very important thing. Just because something works well with the keyboard does not mean it will be compatible with the screen reader. Okay, so what are some accessibility examples and some daily accessibility examples that make my life and lives of many screen reader users, well, more difficult? So let me illustrate this. I wanted to open a bank account, and I visited their website. I wanted to do it totally online. And then I started completing the form. I put my first name, my last name, click next. And then they said, okay, so you will now receive an SMS code. And then just type the code in the box, click next, and you'll be able to go on. So I received the code. I clicked next. And then they said, okay, very good. So now, please agree with our terms and conditions. Click on continue, and your account will be completed, will be open. Okay, but the trick was the checkbox was not accessible, and I could not check it and proceed. Now, I'm sure that this is something which developers can solve, can resolve easily. But this thing actually made my life much more difficult. And guess what I did? Well, I left the website, and that's it. So this bank actually refused to take my money because of those minor mistakes. Okay, one more example. I have my own business, and one day I wanted to, and I have like two accounts. So the first one is business account, and another one is a personal account in the same bank. And I wanted to transfer funds from my business account to the personal one. And everything worked fine. I completed the form. However, at the very end of the process, I was asked to simply choose the payment purpose. But the combo box was terrible. It did not function correctly. So I could not use my arrow keys to select the purpose and complete the transfer. There are some more examples. For example, very badly organized web shops where I cannot find what I need, or it takes me much longer time to do that. Also, unclickable links. Can you imagine, like, you are on the website and you basically want to know something very important, for example, about us, or how to pay us, or how to purchase this and that, how to place the order. And then you press enter on the link and like nothing happens. So that's an unclickable link. Date pickers, especially if you want to book a flight. For example, some air companies travel companies are not accessible. And I want to book a flight, but I cannot choose my dates. So they basically lose money because of that. Now, I'm sure that all of those things are, very easy to resolve. Then we have like content on a blogs, articles that is represented through the graphic. This is also very difficult for me to read, especially if I enjoy the the content. For example, I'm passionate about public speaking, and I'm reading a blog, and some of their articles are not accessible because they are written. The content is written within a graphic. It also happens on Facebook sometimes if the information is placed like that. Okay. Now let's vote. I have good news and bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Let's vote, and please let me know if you have the results.
Let's go ahead and give us some bad news first.
Okay, so bad news is that almost like 90% of websites that I have visited so far in my experience, which is like more than 15 years, but most of them have certain accessibility issues. Okay, and the good news is that the accessibility is not a rocket science. Okay. Now let's go into practice. So I will now get seated, and I'll now show you something. Let me know if you can see my face correctly.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I will now give you something very interesting. So this website is very inaccessible. Okay. Okay, so let me just reopen them. Okay, so this website is extremely accessible. Everything works fine. Headings are perfect. I press H. There is main menu, popular today, recently added. If I click on software, for example. Okay. And then there's a category. So combo boxes are working correctly. Okay. And then we have a website which is done for testing purposes, but it's not like very accessible. Let me just find it, because for some reason it's not shared at the moment. Here it is. Okay. So this one. Okay, so blank, nothing is herbal here. Unlabeled graphic, which means that I cannot and there is some text that I don't understand. then there's like a table, obviously. But for me, it's just nothing because I can't. Just numbers. Okay, so let's say events. December 1st, click on the link, create holiday event. I pressed enter and nothing happens. Okay, so start your application. Required fields are in blue. How can a blind person see that something is blue? Okay. And then they click security test. Please enter the 2 words you see. Basically, how that's not possible. Now, look, I know that you might say, "Oh, the first website looks awful." You can say that, and I trust you. I believe you, although I never seen that. But those are just 2 extreme examples. And yeah, so accessibility and design go hand in hand. And I don't think that something must be, let's say, wrongly designed to be accessible. So beautiful and accessible are friends. Now, after all of this, I want to ask you a question. Let's respond it for yourself. Are you ready to start incorporating and thinking about accessibility in your future projects? Start paying more attention to that so all people, regardless of disability, can enjoy your products? If yes, great. I'll be happy to help you with that. Please add me on LinkedIn. My contact details are in the schedule or probably in the chat if someone wants to put it. I'm also a speaking coach, so if you need anything like that, let me know. And of course, I'll be more than happy to do a manual testing of your website or provide any advice that I can. Thank you very much. Andrija, the floor is yours now.
Thanks, Lazar. Hey guys, my name is Andrija, and Lazar has just provided with the answer to how accessibility and issues with accessibility affect his daily life. Now, I'm here to provide you with the why. Why we overlook accessibility? Well, there are many reasons why this happens, and each are specific for a specific set of circumstances. However, most common reasons are limited budget and time frame to complete the project, generalized approach to website design, then the fact that accessibility is a brand new area that needs to be explored by developers, and the strict reliance on accessibility test tools. Okay, let's talk about budget and time frame. This is sadly the most common reason, as each developer or digital agency strives for that sweet competitive edge. In itself, surviving on the market is tough, especially if you do not have many years of experience or a rich portfolio to show off. This leads to compromises in project valuation, poorly estimated or borderline unrealistic deadlines. And accessibility is never mentioned in many of those cases, as there is simply not enough time or the budget cannot cover even the basic accessibility testing. Apart from that, many developers struggle in selling the idea of an accessible website to their clients. The poor time estimation or other factors can easily create a time crunch on the project, and delivering the project in time requires cutting corners. And of course, it is very easy to get seduced by specific wishes of your customer and focus on that in hopes that the created elements will be accessible. Basic user testing, as you might have imagined, is very often skipped completely. How can we make sure that accessibility is included in the project? By educating our clients. Show them the numbers, local legislation trends, and benefits of an accessible website. This does not require this does require initial research depending on client's business needs. However, a responsible website owner will always say yes if correct information is presented to them. Don't forget that you are the expert for the website design, and if you think about your client in the longer run, most of your clients will recognize and appreciate that. Now, let's say that you didn't bother to check. You really needed this client and you did not pay attention to website accessibility. With the legislation evolving and making accessibility mandatory worldwide, you can get into trouble with your client as they assumed that you are already paying attention to accessibility and they can hold you responsible for revenue loss or fines by authorities. Regardless of the current legislation and whether they have a case on you or not, probably they don't. However, regardless of that, you're not only losing that client for good, but also gaining bad reputation. And you know what they say, bad reputation is a business killer. But okay, damage is done. Let's say you're already working on a project and you have not allocated any funds to user testing. Well, you can still test your website on a zero budget and spend only a couple of hours. Yeah, it won't be very good testing. However, you can focus on the basics, get a helping hand from a friend, and from that you can get out with a fully functional website which is not fully accessible. However, that is much better than having an inaccessible website that cannot serve its basic purpose. That being said, let's talk about the generalized approach to website design. This is probably the second biggest reason, as when we visualize the website, our reflex is to first create a website the way we would like to have if we were in the business of our clients. Then we will focus on majority of users. And as you may have guessed, majority of users will not use a screen reader. It is also common that website accessibility is misinterpreted, confused with responsive design, or not understood by developers at all. If you remember Lazar's story in which he could not check a mandatory checkbox, this situation happened due to the fact someone wanted to create a fancy-looking checkbox using div elements that are easier to style than the input element. This small, so to say small, oversight basically denied any screen reader users from becoming a client of this bank. It is essential to put some more effort in understanding how people use the website. Assuming that they have a helping hand or that they will not use your website in the first place is a cardinal sin of a website design. I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. There is a reason why input type checkbox exists, and you should use it even if that means more time and effort to style this element or giving up on the style concept at all. Find the middle ground with your client, let them know why a specific design choice is not good. Okay, next up, why is website accessibility so intimidating? Because it is a brand new area to explore. As we talk about the basics, the truth is that we are merely scratching the surface of website accessibility. With so much different tools, assistive technology that exists, and the different use cases, that is a mountain to climb, a huge mountain to climb. Many people choose not to climb, but instead to stick to old coding standards and habits, as this is an easier way, or at least so they think. I'm just going to put a contract clause that I'm not responsible for accessibility, and then the clients need to hire specialist website accessibility testers or developers. I'm not liable by law, etc., etc. Now, although exploring a brand new set of rules does look intimidating, not even the top website accessibility experts know all of these rules. As Socrates once said, I know that I know nothing. Start small, with understanding how your users behave, what they use. Test out this technology. Is it working properly? Find out where the traps and the pitfalls on your website. Fix them. Now, learn why you had to fix them, which rules exist, and where I can find them and access them when I need them. From that point on, it's all going step by step at a time. Some developers may say that the effort does not pay out and that there will still be a job for current experience and the set of skills they have. Well, my message to them, if there are any of them, is that the very moment you are unable to improve yourself is the moment you should stop working as a website designer. And if you think that it is too late for you, note that just by making effort to learn about website accessibility, just by listening to this lecture, you are getting one step ahead of most of your competitors. Now, the final topic is about reliance on accessibility test tools. One of the traps that is probably the easiest to fall into. We need this false sense of security, and by nature, we need to clear checkboxes and get the maximum scores. We can have perfect scores and have a completely inaccessible website. Also, we can get this false sense of security, but just making sure that we reach ADA compliance or another form of compliance with local legislation. Once again, it is important to remember that there is a huge difference between theory and practice. If we do not collect feedback from end users, we cannot classify a specific website accessible. Now, if you have ever worked on website optimization, and I assume most of developers did, then you know that having a perfect optimization score does not make a website fast. Accessibility tools can lie. You need to learn how they work so you could understand the results shown. And most importantly, user feedback has no alternative. Okay, guys, let's see this in practice. Now let me just open my browser so that we could test out a website using a known accessibility tool. Okay, can everybody see my browser? Good. Now we are going to see a website of local airport, which of course, once you access, you can book your flight, reserve your tickets. In any case, Lazar specifically told me for this website that this website is inaccessible and that he had serious issues in booking his flight. Now let's use a common accessibility test tool, such as Wave. Okay. And we are going to test the website with Wave tool. Oh, interesting. We can see that this website has 3 errors. Okay, let's try testing another website. Let's see a website that Lazar told me that has lots of accessibility features and that he can easily navigate. Yes? How many errors do you think this website will have? Probably 0, right? Wrong. Can you see this? Let's now compare. We have 3 errors, 33 contrast errors, 27 alerts, 29 features, 18 structural elements. Look at this. From this, you could imagine that Air Serbia is more accessible than Blind Health Project, a website which is perfectly accessible for screen reader users. But here is where I mentioned that accessibility tools do lie. First of all, not all of this information refers to accessibility for screen reader users. It can refer to contrast issues, it can refer to dynamic content, which is blocking the view. It does not necessarily target all users. Next of all, do you see an issue here? We have what basically happened here. If you noticed when we initially visited the Air Serbia website, a DDoS check fired so that it could verify that we are not brute forcing their website or causing an attack on it. Well, this check fired also when we tested the website using the Wave tool. In let's say small scale practice, you will see DDoS check fired when website has Cloudflare, which is probably one of most famous features of Cloudflare CDN. And what happens when DDoS check fires? Most of test tools are being tricked, and you cannot they cannot see entire content of the website, but just the window that shows DDoS check. And what then happens? DDoS check will cover all the content, and accessibility tool will fetch the code just from the visible content, which is DDoS check. And you have a couple of words of text, or in this case, you have an error. In any case, you will have very limited information, and this information is not valid for testing. What you can do to test website properly is that there is also Wave browsing extension, which you can click and fire once website is loaded. And in that case, you will get obviously much different results. Now, let's get back to the topic. It is important and essential for you to know that us developers are empowered to rationally use our knowledge, and we have we need to have the integrity. We need to understand that focusing on majority of users will not will make lots of people have closed doors or have troubles even using the products that we've created for ourselves or our clients. Now it is our duty to together spread the word and show to the world that we can, step by step, make this world more accessible. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much for all of that info. As a reminder to people watching, you can enter your questions in the Q&A tab next to the live stream. I think one of the questions I had is what would make you report an issue versus leaving a website and never coming back?
Oh, it's probably for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. So I never reported an issue to the developers or company because according to my experience with certain people who actually did the same, they just did, there was no any change. So it depends. Sometimes if the thing is critically important for me, I then ask for a site help. Okay. For example, in this case of opening a bank account, I could easily switch to another bank and that's it. But sometimes it's not that easy to replace the provider, the vendor. So you must do things that you can. I actually had some certain things like I actually did report the accessibility issues, but on certain software, it was not related to the web. And I think I did it for like 3 or 4 times, and only once they changed the thing. So yeah, actually I told you, so based on the importance and the significance, I choose either to go on and ask for assistance or to give up.
Right. Makes sense. So to either one of you, how do you approach telling people about how to fix their websites when you're, auditing the site or reviewing the site? How do you present the info to them? Is it in a video of you, reviewing the site? Is it in some kind of printed document? Like, how do you present this info to the people who you're auditing for? If you do it all.
Okay, well, I'll tell you honestly, my idea is to become an accessibility tester and to start a career as a consultant. Why not? I do provide those services. So far, I did it via Zoom calls and then video. So I most likely share the screen and tell what's wrong and what should be fixed. So this was the way I used to do it. But if some people or clients have some different, wishes, desires, so maybe they want to have all documented or screen and audio recorded, I'll be more than happy to provide this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Awesome.
yeah, I can only add to that I'm not obviously not providing that service as a service. However, in terms of if I need to help a developer make something more accessible, I will give him a basic set of rules, and I will inspect the code which is present on the website, and then I will create a list of all the issues which are with the structure of the website. Of course, this is just the list of structural issues. This is not the actual accessibility test of the website. So I'm giving them indication, hey guys, you're using wrong elements for this. You're basically asking for trouble. Please use these elements instead, or please try this solution or that solution. That's my answer to that.
Great. And I think to leave us with one final thought, you guys both had really awesome takeaways, and there were so many things, messages for developers and people who have their websites. If you had one thing to say to somebody, if they didn't take away anything at all, give them one thing from each of you, what would that be?
Andrija, maybe you can.
Well, if there was one thing that I would say is basically, don't be afraid. Just learn, dive into the topic, and realize that we have a great responsibility in our hands, and it is our mission to make sure that online presence is accessible to anyone.
I would say like start small. Like small steps are crucial here. You don't have to make the entire website accessible at once. Just tiny steps. Just do whatever you can, a little by little. Follow the latest trends. Dedicate yourself. It's not rocket science. It's not hard, and yeah, everything will be accessible shortly. But please just start. That would be one word. So start.
I love that. I love both of those. Those are so important. And it looks like we have a question submission. What is important to you when doing an accessibility test? What should the people inquiring for the test think about? And I think you covered this a little bit, but when somebody's going into a test, what should they be keeping in mind?
Well, first, you have to know that all heading. I'm talking from a screen reader user's perspective. So headings are very important. All edit fields should be labeled. Combo boxes, check boxes. That all text, that all pictures, graphics are is alt text is included to the all pictures and images. Buttons, that's important. So it depends on what you want to, what the site is presenting. So, but anyway, Andrija sometimes said like, try to imagine that your website is a book. So it's like chapters. Do your best to make it readily available to all people, so people can read it easily.
Great.
Exactly, and I would just like to add that the information that is presented to a screen reader user can very often, if accessibility is not done right, can very often be overwhelming. And if a website is showing an excess of information to the screen reader user, then their interaction with the website will be slower, and by that they will know, hey, I had to spend lots of more time to purchase this product. I could go to that store. The process would take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and time is of the essence. So
Yes.
try to focus on what's important. Whatever can be distracting should not be read by a screen reader. However, this also means you need to think about how you will design your website. You need to focus on the basics. If website is able to serve its basic function, if you can make a purchase on the on the web shop or on the website, then the website serves its basic purpose. Then you can focus on the on other things. But if you cannot make a purchase, if there is an issue that prevents it, you could have spent like months testing a website, making sure it is accessible. But if it has that critical failure that screen reader user cannot purchase it, basically all that testing is in vain.
Right. If it doesn't work, then it can be as pretty as it can be, but it won't do anything.
Exactly.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. And thanks for attending this session with Andrija and Lazar. You can continue the conversation in the chat or on social media using hashtag WPA11YDay and hashtag WPAD2022. We also appreciate it if you go to wpaccessibility.day/feedback to provide anonymous feedback for our speakers on their presentation. We're going to have you stay tuned for accessibility testing in the CI/CD process. This current session is the last one of this block. So when you come back, you're going to need to refresh the live stream page to switch to the next stream. It's coming up at 9 a.m. UTC and 4 a.m. Central. While you're waiting, don't forget to visit our sponsors' pages, grab virtual swag, enter for a chance to win great prizes, and we'll see you here right after the break. Don't forget to refresh your page when you come back.